we've unlocked a new location, and it's to celebrate spring. I'm here to recommend movies that feel like spring. Spring isn't my favorite season of the year. I'm more of a winter fall girl, but I have a couple of movies that have overall spring vibes, and then there are just certain movies where I'm like, hear me out. They feel like spring. I don't know how to explain it. You just have to get the vibe. So let's get into it. So the first movie that I have to recommend is none other than My Neighbor Totoro, which I believe might be a movie that's set during the summer, but I think you can see it during summer and spring. It is such a beautiful movie with beautiful nature animations, and it follows two young girls who move into the countryside with their father. This entire movie is so lush and beautifully animated, and every single Studio Ghibli film feels like a summer and spring movie to watch, but there's just something about My Neighbor Totoro that feels so fresh and new. It might just be because the nature is so present in this movie, because we follow two young girls who are always outside, always playing with one another, and it's just a beautifully crafted film that I saw for the first time with my movie club over in my Discord, and it was just an absolute delight. So if you have not seen a Studio Ghibli film before, I would highly recommend My Neighbor Totoro as your first movie to watch, because it is just so gorgeous. The next movie that I have to recommend that feels like spring is Matilda. So Matilda is set during school time, so I'm gonna say it's around springtime because we follow this girl named Matilda who lives in a very tumultuous household. Her parents are very chaotic, she has a mean older brother, and she escapes into the world of books. And we follow Matilda during these antics where she has this really horrible household, but we also follow her in her horrible school. And it's just a beautiful film. It is so precious and so magical. It's so delicate, and that's what reminds me of spring. From the set design to the costumes to the way that Miss Honey is, she feels like spring incarnate. Also, the soundtrack is really lively and upbeat, and that just reminds me of like the perfect spring playlist to listen to. Overall, Matilda is such a classic childhood movie that every time I think of spring, I think of Miss Honey's little cottage that she lives in and how I want to live there so badly. And I always love her wardrobe and her energy. She's just the perfect character. I know this movie recently re-released in theaters, and it was so exciting because I saw so many friends go to the cinema to go see it. I actually didn't see it because I own the DVD and I recently saw it with friends that I was like, I don't think I need to see it in theaters, and I don't really regret it. And it is Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice is in my top 4 on Letterboxd. It is a perfect film. It is beautiful. One of the most beautiful films you will ever see in your entire life. From the beautiful shots of nature to the fact that Lizzie is always walking outside, Pride and Prejudice just screams spring to me. Pride and Prejudice just kind of like always renews me and inspires me, and that's kind of like what spring feels like to people who enjoy spring. Not me, because I have allergies and I don't really enjoy spring. It's just such a gorgeous film to watch all year round. I'll rewatch that at any given moment, except in the theater apparently because I didn't go. That one scene where she's like standing on the edge of the cliff just kind of looking out and thinking and pondering and obviously thinking about Mr. Darcy is so gorgeous. It really conveys this like romantic feeling in terms of like art, like romanticism, where it's like so vast, it's so cavernous, this entire canyon that she's looking at, where she feels so small, yet her feelings are so big. I really do think if you have a bunch of nature shots, if you have a bunch of characters who are always outside and walking around, it just screams spring to me because that's like the perfect time to do all those activities. Either way, you should always be watching Pride and Prejudice. Even if you've seen it before, I'm assigning you homework. Go rewatch Pride and Prejudice. Tell your friends that I told you to do that. Then they'll have to watch it with you. Another movie that makes me so happy when I think about it is Ella Enchanted. Ella Enchanted is like one of the best films, and yet I never talk about it. We follow Anne Hathaway, who plays Ella Enchanted, and she was kind of cursed by her godmother as a child to be very obedient. It's a very literal curse where if you tell Ella to stop, she has to stop. If you tell her to walk across the road, she has to walk across the road. And she lives with an evil stepmother and step siblings, and she is tired of being bossed around by them, literally. So she goes on a journey to try and find her godmother to get rid of this curse. And along the way, we come across Will Graham, who is Hugh Dancy, and he is this prince who falls in love with her, but he doesn't know about her curse. He doesn't know that he has the ability to command her against her will. And there's musical numbers and there's beautiful clothing that Ella wears. It's a very cute movie that feels like what Disney thinks their live action movies feel like. Disney's live actions are so devoid of life and creativity and a sense of whimsy, but Ella Enchanted is a live action, whimsical, fantastical princess story that is so full of life, that is so full of whimsy. There's just this beautiful, adorable energy to it. Everything about this movie makes me feel so happy, and it just screams spring to me. Another film that screams spring to me is Minari. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous film that follows a Korean American family who moves to Arkansas in search of the American dream. And it's a really heartfelt movie because not only do we follow the different generations in this family, from the grandmother to the father and mother to the young children who don't really understand the gravity of this move and the gravity of this shift in their life because they're really trying to follow their dreams and really trying to make a name for themselves in America. Just one of those quiet moving films, and it has a lot of beautiful shots of nature because again, they're living in a very remote household in the middle of Arkansas, so they're surrounded by nature and nature plays a large role in this film, and it's just so beautiful. Another beautiful film that I want more people to see is 20th Century Women. So we follow an older mother who has a teenage son, and she had him later in life, so I would say she's about 50 years old, and she is recognizing that this world and her generation versus her son's generation are very different. So she enlists the help of a roommate in her house and a young girl who's friends with the teenage boy to kind of help guide her son in life. This really explores the concept of community and how it takes a village to raise a child, and it's so beautifully done because we see so many different views of life and we see so many different generations and how they react to society and the changes that happen as the years go on, because I believe this is set during the 70s. And I also really love the fact that woven into this film we have newsreels and actual moments from that time period woven into the movie, and the characters react to those situations because it makes it feel so much more grounded in reality, and it makes you really understand that the world is always shifting, it's always changing, and every generation has different reactions to those moments. And what is it like when you have so many people help raise a child? I think this is an A24 movie, and I think they have the script for it. I'm so tempted to get the script because the movie was just absolutely gorgeous. The most spring movie of all that I have to recommend, that I think everyone would agree with, is The Sound of Music. I've never seen The Sound of Music before until around lockdown time, like 2020, maybe 2021, when my mom showed it to me. And what a gorgeous film. We follow Julie Andrews, who is the nanny to this man's 7 children right before World War II. And now this makes me realize that Julie Andrews was a nanny in 2 iconic films, The Sound of Music and Mary Poppins. Okay, I love that for her. There are so many beautiful, iconic numbers in this film, and Julie Andrews is obviously a star. She is so talented. She's so beautiful and delicate. She's very similar to that of Miss Honey in this film. This is the type of musical that can stand the test of time, similar to that of Singing in the Rain. It's just one of those movies that if you see it on TV, no matter what part the movie is on, you're going to stop and watch it because it is so eye-catching, it is so beautiful. And I truly think that's like the ultimate spring movie that you should definitely be watching if you have not seen it already. The next movie, I was debating whether or not it was set during the spring or the summer, but I do believe it is set during the spring because they are in school and it is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I've decided it is one of my favorite movies of all time. I can rewatch that over and over and over again and never get tired of it. And in case you don't know what Ferris Bueller's Day Off is about, we follow Ferris Bueller, who decides he wants to take the day off of school and do quite literally as much as possible in the city of Chicago with his best friend and his girlfriend. But then we also follow the principal, who's not a fan of Ferris Bueller, and he knows that Ferris Bueller is not sick like he claims to be, and he decides to take matters into his own hands and try and like hunt down Ferris Bueller. I don't know how much this principal is being paid, but it is not enough to care this much about a kid who just wants the day off. Let him have fun. Save Ferris, you know? The next movie that I have to recommend, I was debating to myself, how does this movie feel like spring? And then I thought to myself, it's because Anne Hathaway is skipping around in New York City in beautiful clothes, and what better time to do that than during spring? So I have to recommend The Devil Wears Prada. The Devil Wears Prada is another movie that I think I've seen over 10 times now because it is iconic. The dialogue, the clothing, the attitude, everything about it is perfect. I'm an ENTJ, and that's just like my biggest red flag. And one of the characters that is supposedly an ENTJ is Miranda Priestley. So if anyone asked me for my biggest red flag, I would say that apparently I'm just like Miranda Priestley. I'm not even gonna pitch The Devil Wears Prada to you because I feel like everyone knows what it's about. It's about Anne Hathaway who decides to somehow get a job at Vogue. I don't know how when she has like no experience. It's like so unrealistic, but it's Anne Hathaway and it is Meryl Streep. Who cares? They're beautiful, they're stunning, they're talented, I love them. But I initially saw The Devil Wears Prada in my fashion class, which is so fun. When I initially saw it, I was like, this is like an iconic movie. I feel like my litmus test of seeing whether or not someone is cool is whether or not they like The Devil Wears Prada. It's just so fun to analyze because everyone is an anti-hero, everyone is genuinely horrible besides Stanley Tucci's character. I forgot to tell you Stanley Tucci's in it. I forgot to tell you that the other Mary Poppins is in it. What's her name? It'll come to me. What's her name? Oh my god. Starts with an E? Oh my god, how do I not remember her name? Emily Blunt is in it. It does start with an E. If you have not seen it, this is your sign to go turn off this video after watching it entirely and liking it and commenting. Go watch The Devil Wears Prada. It's iconic. It's wonderful. The last movie that I have to recommend, I'm debating whether or not it takes place during the spring or summer. It is Booksmart, and it takes place during the eve of the graduation of these two students who are like goody two-shoes and want to have this night of celebration and debauchery. And it really depends on whether or not your school has graduation in June or May. So I'm going to say this is set during the spring and it has spring vibes. Booksmart is just a wonderful comedy. It is directed by Olivia Wilde, and I had a great time with it. It is one of those movies that I went into the theater to watch with my best friend, and there's no better person to watch this movie with than with your best friend. It's definitely a pick-me-up movie that makes you excited for summer, and even though there are certain plot points that I don't agree with because these characters are somewhat unlikable, I still think that Booksmart carries the essence of spring because it is set in California and they're always outside and they're just kind of doing as much as possible within one night, similar to that of Ferris Bueller, and that's exactly what I'm looking for during spring. So those are some movies that kind of scream spring to me. Let me know if there are movies that I should watch during spring that you think are the perfect movies to watch during the season. I'll be sure to link my letterbox down below as well as all my socials if you want to follow me anywhere else. If you have not subscribed to this channel already, be sure to do so to see more movie recommendations from me. I also recommend books. I also do some vlogs on the side. I do a bunch of different content centered around storytelling. And thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a flower emoji of your choice in the comments so we can see who stays for the longest in these videos. If you do, I really do appreciate it because I do notice all the emojis that people leave when I tell you what emoji to leave in the comments, and it's always so fun. So thank you so much for watching this video in its entirety, and I hope you have a good day. Bye!